Well, greetings. Boy, do I have a treat. Welcome to another episode of Wifersations. I am super excited today because I get to bring you a beautiful guest who we didn't know each other personally. However, we are blessed by divine connections. And I'm just excited for us to dig into this conversation and see what she has to say to the Wifersations audience. Mm-hmm. Now, before we get going, I just want to remind everyone that it's important. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. When you do, you'll get the alerts automatically of when new episodes come up. Also, this will not only be audio, this will be the video as well. And so we got to make sure we're subscribed to our YouTube channel. All of that information is found on our website, shelonwade.com. And wherever you're listening to this, I am sure there is a way for you to connect. So I don't want to take up a whole lot of time because you guys, you know me. I'm your sister wife. I'm your girl. And we have a new girl joining our family, a new lady, a new woman. Her name is Miss Rita Carter. I won't say Sharita, but Miss Rita Carter. And we are blessed to have her in our midst. She is a woman of God. She is a leader, not only in the church community, but in the private sector. She is a mom. She is a wife. And I could say she's an author. She's a coach. She's all of those things. And I could say a lot more, but I want you guys to hear her voice and to hear her heart as she shares with us, because I believe, as she says, she has something to pour in to the Wifersations community. Welcome, Miss Carter.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with Miss the Shelon Wade.
Oh, God, stop it. So, we're just going to dive right in. I know we kind of got to know each other and we know a little bit about one another, but please, could you share with me, and let's start off with, who is Miss Rita Carter?
Oh, that is a mouthful.
We got time.
Yes. So I want to say first and foremost, there was a time when I couldn't answer that question, and that's how my journey started. Is looking myself in the mirror and asking myself, who am I? And it took a long time to answer that question, but now I can. So I am a child of God, first and foremost. I am a vessel for the kingdom to uplift and increase the kingdom. I'm also a wife, a mother of two. Me and my husband are getting ready to celebrate 18 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a long time.
Long time. And if it wasn't for the Lord.
Right.
So I give him the glory. Mm-hmm. That is a difficult thing to achieve, just the longevity within a marriage. But I am also an owner, an entrepreneur. I have several businesses. My baby, my passion is Breakthrough. Breakthrough, I started not even knowing what I was starting. You know how God just pours something into your spirit and you're not sure what it is?
I do.
And you're trying to figure it out on the way. But that's my baby. That's my passion. I am a certified coach. I am a certified speaker, a trainer, a facilitator, and an author. My latest book has a journal that goes with it, and my journal just reached bestseller on Amazon.
Come on.
So I am a boatload of things. I am still in corporate America. I have over 2 decades of corporate America leadership experience. So I navigate a lot. We are real estate investors as well. And so I'm a cheer mom. I'm a dance mom.
My goodness. Okay, so let's just stop right here. Okay. So you're doing all of these things. Why all of a sudden did you have a passion, not just for women, but women who are married. What made you even interested in pouring in when you could be doing so many other things? What brought that passion on?
You know what? I think it was for me. I needed guidance. So often we're lost. And a lot of times we carry baggage from childhood trauma and experiences that we've been through, longing for that love, longing for that direction. I grew up in the church, and just to be quite candid, your previous generations is kind of like you go to church because you had to, you believe because you're supposed to, and not really clearly laying the foundation of why. Why should I do this? Why should I believe? Why should I go in this direction? And really trying to discover who Rita is. And so it was important for me to take my journey and be able to pour into the next woman, because there are a lot of women out here that don't have that go-to person, don't have that safe space to really, they can really lay their hair down and say, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm in this marriage. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm mad at him. He mad at me. We walk past each other. We not speaking.
Come on.
Or there was infidelity, or they struggling with finances, and then the complicated thing is that people get married because they have children. So if it wasn't working before the child, it's not going to work after the child either.
Wow.
So you have to get married for the right reasons. I was young when I got married.
Okay.
So I didn't know what I was getting.
How old were you?
So I was 24.
Okay.
I know, not as young, not a teenage.
I know, because I'm just like, girl, I was 20.
Yeah. So I was 24, and my husband had turned 25. We had no business.
Yeah.
No business getting married at that time, because I was still trying to discover who Rita was. Started my master's program. We graduated. We're trying to get our life together. We got careers that are starting. We were trying to find out who we were. So it's really hard to come in and have somebody else come in when you don't even know who you are. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you need.
Right.
So
and
now
so
you're inviting this person to come in.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I agree. You don't know who you are. The funny thing is, you're going to evolve even more. So how did you find, because you could easily be a statistic. You could easily have chosen, both of you, to walk away when the times got really rough. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say there are going to be times when you're looking at that door and you want to twist that handle and walk right on out. Take that doorknob, take the doorknob off, and be like, get me out of here. Right. And so I get what you're saying, and I understand also, like you were saying, like we shouldn't have got married. But what about those who have, such as yourself? How did you find your way? And who was your safe place?
So honestly, I didn't have a safe place.
Okay.
I have my mother. My mother is my best friend, of course. I still talk to her every day, sometimes a couple times a day. So she was a go-to to vent. But unfortunately, her and my father didn't work out.
Okay.
And so they married 30 plus years. She tried to stick it out, but on the other hand, my father wasn't, right? And so it was difficult. So sometimes you get a skewed perspective. So you have to be careful of who you reach out to for guidance.
Right. You're right.
Because sometimes they come from a different place. And so for me, I wanted my marriage to work. I didn't know how. And so, of course, not coaching, but counseling came into play. And at first, my husband was like, no, I want to go to counseling.
Oh, wow,
because
really?
In our community, counseling is such a bad thing. It's
taboo.
It's frowned upon. It's taboo. It's
they
like,
think you're crazy.
I'm not telling nobody my business. They don't know my business. I'm not crazy. And that's so the opposite.
Right.
Like, you need that person that can just stand, and they don't know you, they don't know your background,
that
but
mediator.
They are helping you. They are the mediator.
You need that.
And so after he said no to counseling, I said, I don't know what else then but divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want it, but I didn't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I said divorce, that's when he was like, uh-oh, I can't lose my wife, so we need to figure
Okay.
this out. And that was the turning point. That was when he was like, okay, let's do counseling. And so that showed me, and he told me, I don't want a divorce. I didn't want a divorce, so that means that at least we can agree on something.
Right.
So we have to figure this out. At least we on the same page when it comes to that. And so that's how the journey started, and making sure that I can. When I started counseling, it was so eye-opening.
Wow.
Because a lot of things that came out on that couch had nothing to do with my husband.
Oh, yes, of course.
A lot.
Can
that
you
came
talk
out from
about
him.
that just even a little bit more? Because I do believe, especially if you get married young, you do not know how to navigate through your own trauma or through your own, dare I say, issues or things that may have you feeling a certain way. And like you discussed, even with your mom having a certain perspective. So talk about that more, of how counseling is just not for you to go in and say, fix him, fix him, fix him, fix him. Talk about that, your own personal awareness that you got from that.
Two main things I would like to say. Number one, majority of the things that came out had nothing to do with him, as I mentioned. It started actually with the emotional distant father that I had. So I grew up with my father in the same household, me and my siblings. However, he was emotionally unavailable. So it was almost as if it was a single parent household, because I can see him, but he wasn't there. There was no conversation. There was no, I would say, intimacy, that father-daughter relationship that I yearned for. And so that's where it started. That's where my journey or my brokenness started.
But was he there? And I'm asking this for a reason. I want to hear your response. Was he there financially, always coming home, doing his role?
No.
Okay. Okay.
So
you just knew you had a dad.
I knew I had a dad.
And you knew he lived with you.
So I love my dad dearly.
Oh, yes.
But he is to get to this place, it was a journey, but he is a functioning alcoholic. And so my mom has always been the breadwinner. She was the one working day in and day out and coming home. My dad would be home, but then he'd be out at night. And then he'd come home some nights, and sometimes he wouldn't. So I knew he was there. I knew who he was, but there was no real connection. There was no real connection.
He didn't know how.
Well, that was part of my journey, right?
Yes.
Of healing and forgiving him. For not being the father that I needed, because maybe he didn't know how. Maybe he didn't have it to give. And he has we all have our own demons that we're going through, right? So maybe he was fighting his own demons. Usually when people abuse alcohol or some other substance, they're masking what's really going on the inside. I'm not just talking about casually, oh, let me get a glass of wine. I'm talking about abuse. They're masking something on the inside. And so I had to learn and accept the fact that what my father was fighting, what he was masking, had nothing to do with me, my mom, my siblings. It was all him. We don't know what he's seen, what he's heard, what he's been through in the past. He has to be willing to fight those demons himself. I can't do that for him.
I hear you saying, like, even as women, we have to come to terms with our initial household before we really have that victory in our present household.
Absolutely. Because we carry that in. The
Yeah.
second thing I wanted to mention, you talked about being in counseling. So starting with my father, but also accountability. So a lot of times we go to counseling, it's kind of like, get him. He did this, he did that. But I had to take accountability for my role in the failing of our marriage.
Ooh, how did that make you feel?
I was mad at first.
Yes.
I was like, this
I've
ain't
been
about
there.
me.
I've been there. That's
This
why
is
I asked.
not
Because I was
about
like,
me.
who you talking to? What you mean?
Yeah, that you talking to the wrong person.
I'm
It was
perfect.
him.
I do
He
it
said
right.
this, but I had some wrongdoings, right? And so when we are faced with battles, we respond differently, right? So I respond when me and my husband were going through what we were going through. There was infidelity in my marriage as a result on my husband's end. That was his way of acting out, right? My way of dealing with it was work, 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 work. Like, my head was down. I was working crazy hours. I was traveling. I was getting promoted, going up the corporate ladder. That was my way of, I guess, walking away from my reality. Avoiding my reality was work.
Yeah.
Was traveling, was really boosting my corporate side, my professionalism, but not really dealing with my reality at home. And so we address our issues in a different way. But it was the infidelity that kind of opened it up. But I had to take accountability because I've said some things, right? I've done some things. To be quite honest, at the age of 24, I had some red flags before we got married. I chose to ignore those flags.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And so I had to take accountability.
Because we in love.
I'm in love.
We in love.
This is like, on paper, like, we graduated from undergrad.
Perfect,
We bought our first home. We had a beautiful wedding on the court, on the golf course. Like, it was just perfect, but it really wasn't. Right? And so I had to take accountability for my part in what did and did not work within my marriage. And so that was a big pill for me to swallow, because for so long I was like, I didn't step out on my marriage.
Right.
So I'm not wrong.
Right.
But I was wrong in other areas.
Right. And the stepping out, because I know that's like a big trigger for wives. I know that is. So I don't want to gloss over that. But I also don't want to harp on Mr. Carter. So I'm talking about in general. That is a trigger for women, period. But men deal differently with issues. That's just a manifestation of something else. It's always a manifestation, and it is a way where they don't have to deal with you, and they don't have to deal with themselves. Because when you step out, when you're with somebody else, you in fantasy world. That's not true. That lady don't want to wash your drawers. That lady don't want to cook dinner for you every day.
Right.
That lady really don't want to take care of your kids. You guys are creating a whole fantasy. And so it's, I always want to remind women, like, sometimes I get it. If it's over, it's over. But that is not always the last straw. Sometimes that's the first straw to a whole better relationship. And thank God when he does expose it. Because now you really got to deal with what you got to deal with. How did you guys tunnel through that?
So it was a journey, of course, and counseling played a heavy role in that. One thing I had to learn, and what I teach and express to my clients, is that when you say I do, you're not just saying I do to the man that's in front of you today. You're saying I do to the man 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now. And we evolve. And just like you grow and you evolve, he grows and he evolves. Well, he's supposed to. Right? And so you're not just saying yes to that moment.
Right.
And a lot of times when people evolve or change or grow or lack thereof, that's when they want to quit. Now, no disrespect to the woman that says, hey, infidelity is a deal breaker for me.
Right.
That's your business, because you have to deal with that, and I respect your decision.
Right.
However, I was a woman, and I was that woman at one point too. I'm done. You cheat on me, I'm done.
Right.
However, when I was able to look at my husband in the eyes, and when he finally broke down, and I was able to see who God created. Not his error.
That's good. That's good. Say that again.
I was able to see who God created and
Right.
not his error.
And now
For
it's ill.
so long, I looked at him and what he did, and I didn't look at him for who he was. So that was the point when I said, I want to make this work. If I walk away from this marriage, I want to walk away knowing that I've tried everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything within my power to save this marriage. And a lot of times people don't do that. The first sign of wrongdoing is like, I'm done, like divorce. But have you tried everything? And I know it's not just one person, it takes two.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
have you tried everything?
That's something
And
you say that because I've had people who've gotten divorced before they had knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And I've had more than one woman tell me, if I had the information, if I had the tools, if I had the village, if I had the support, if I'd known what to do, I don't know if I would have divorced. And so you sound like you are one who is willing to provide the knowledge, provide the tools, provide the avenue for healing and for breakthrough. I, I just appreciate that because it needs to be known
yeah.
without the judgment. And I like when you were saying, like, oh, I was that person. And so it doesn't mean you never felt that way.
Absolutely not.
Right. But go ahead.
I need for people to know, and so one thing that I get, rather if I'm in a corporate space or personal space, I get what I get all the time is, oh my goodness, I could talk to you for forever. Like I just feel like there's no judgment, there's a safe space. I didn't always have that. And then when I thought I had it, it backfired on me. So it's really a mission for me to create that safe space for that woman. Because so often we're compared, we're judged. It's always a competition with others. No, you're not going to get that here. Because I've been there. I've done that. I've made wrong decisions. I've been cheated on. I've dealt with this. I've dealt with that. I've dealt with anxiety. I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with false relationships. I've dealt with loving people who didn't love me back and being able to heal from that. So I've been through the ringer, right? And I think a lot of times people put on a facade or mask because they feel like they're alone. They feel like I have to put this on because I'm the only one.
I agree.
I'm the only one that's dealing with this. So I can't let other people know because they don't deal with that. In actuality, it's more people that's dealing with it than what you know.
That part right there. Because
than what you know.
Everything you're saying, I've been there too. I mean, I've been there through tons of that. I've even been at a place where there was time I was the perpetrator. So I get it. Like when you say you went in the counseling, they were telling you about you. You're like, wait a minute, that's not why we're here. So I get it. So I appreciate you saying that because this audience needs to know that there are numerous women who have triumphed over their issues, and now we're all saying the same thing. You know what I'm saying? That yep, I've been there, but you can. Yep, I've been there, but you will. If we want to, right? If you want to, and I understand that it does take the unity in the union to work too. Talk a little bit about the Unpack Your Heart.
Oh,
I love that title and everything.
My baby.
Yes.
My baby.
Yes.
So, Unpack Your Heart. So, the hiccup in my marriage was early on in my marriage. So, thankfully, we were able to overcome that. But it's 7 steps to rewriting your love story.
Okay.
And it's called Unpack Your Heart because I talked about it a little bit earlier. So often we get into these relationships already heavy. And I'm not talking about your weight. I'm talking about what you're carrying, right? What you're carrying on the inside. I'm talking about previous relationships, childhood trauma, absent father, even though he was physically there, right? I'm talking about everything that you, and it's what I hate so bad is that women have to carry it, and they feel they have to carry it because I gotta work, I gotta provide, I got the household, I got kids to feed. So they like, I can't cry, I can't get all emotional and intimate with you because I got to go to work the next morning. I got 2 jobs. I got to do hair. I got to do that. Like, they don't take the time out to feel. But if you don't feel, you don't heal. Right?
Okay.
So it's important that you take the time out to unpack what you're dealing with. And when I sat on that couch for counseling, and I was telling you that so much was coming out that had nothing to do with my husband, it was the same with him.
Wow. Yeah.
He started talking about stuff that had nothing to do with me. Nothing at all. It was almost as if we was getting to know each other all over again.
Wow. Something
like,
that's needed beforehand.
Something that's needed beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so a lot of, again, we get into these situations, we get married, and we're not truly ready. I'm not saying you shouldn't get married.
Right.
I'm just saying now may not be the right time. Let's dig deep. Right? Let's figure out what's your pet peeve, what are your triggers, what are some of the things that get you going, that get you riled up. And so a lot of things came from my husband and his journey of healing in his childhood and things that he experienced. Same thing with me. So what I love is that then we start having individual counseling, right? Because we can't have a thriving relationship until we're thriving on the inside.
Right. Right.
We have to be healed and whole on the inside.
Right.
I can't give you something that I don't have.
Come on.
Right? So it's important for me to be healed. And so that's how I started my healing journey. And when I say reaching back all the way to that little girl that when my daddy was drunk and he told me I wouldn't be SHIT.
Ooh.
Right? I'm reaching back to that little girl.
Yeah.
And I was a middle child. And I had older siblings who were 5 and 6 years older than me. I had a younger sibling who was 6 years younger than me. So I was already kind of an eyeball.
And that's funny because there's a whole thing in regards to placement in the family, what your placement is. Wow. So that
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was yearning for that love. And then so I thought, okay, I'm gonna get straight A's in school. I'm gonna do all this extracurricular stuff. I'm just gonna just be all I can be, and that way I'm gonna get what I'm desiring. And that didn't work.
And it still didn't work.
It still didn't work.
Right.
And so I grew up in church, but I grew up at a time where it was you had to go to church. You had to be in that Easter play. You had to memorize this poem. Right. But it wasn't, I really didn't get my true intimate foundation with him until my young adult years.
Of course, yeah.
When I had to seek him for myself.
Yes. When you had to apply all of them scriptures that you learned, right?
Absolutely.
We knew scripture, but we didn't know what to do with that.
What did it mean?
Right. How does it hit my life?
What does it mean?
Right.
Right? When it says think of the true things, right? What does that mean when I'm reading the scripture and how to apply it? I can read all day long, but how do I apply it?
How do I apply it? That's right.
And I think there was an old movie, Jim Carrey, old funny movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but it was Morgan Freeman who said something like, when you pray for patience, you think God just going to pour patience into you? No, he's going to put you and place you in a position where you have to exercise that patience.
Because it got to get perfect work. It has to get to that place of perfect work. And I wanted to go back just a tiny bit to this healing when you were saying you both had to go through the healing process. That is ongoing. Am I correct? You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily talking about the counseling, but I just want you to hit a little bit how, like, we're always going to be evolving and healing as an individual and as a couple. What are your...
You have 2 people, 2 different households, 2 different upbringings, 2 different thoughts, two different ideas, two different dreams. Like, you have all of that, and you're trying to bring it together to become one. You're going to hit some roadblocks.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
It's how you respond. So even though we've healed from that season in our life, now we know how to communicate. Mm-hmm. Now we know how to have those candid conversations and say, you know, babe, I felt this way when you said this. Can we talk about it? Mm-hmm. Right? Because that may have not been that his intention, but this is how I received it.
Right.
And a lot of times we think we're communicating with our choice of words, right. But how is it received? Is it received the way you intended for it to be? And so being able to communicate effectively, respect for one another, creating boundaries with one another. Mm-hmm. And so, again, my husband's not perfect. I'm not perfect. The key is that we're growing together. Yeah. Yeah. And when we do bump heads, listen, he may get on my nerves tonight, but I love him. And I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life with him.
Come on, Mr.
And we're
going
to work this out, and we're going to fix this. We're going to figure this out. And it's so amazing. Again, he's not the man that I married almost 18 years ago. Like, for me to have a rough day, and he's like, babe, let's pray. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, that's a different kind of, to be quite candid, that's a different kind of turn on, right? When your husband proactively,
those words, it take the burden already.
Absolutely.
You feel like, let me just cast this right now. I mean, just the mere fact of that, just the acknowledgement of God and something greater than ourselves, mm-hmm. or someone, Father, greater than ourselves, who he acknowledges. Mm-hmm. You know, our husband acknowledges, and then he kind of quote unquote takes me to the king. Mm-hmm. That is priceless.
That is a whole nother level.
That's beautiful, and I see you light up when you said it.
Listen, I'm just thinking about like the times just recently, like when he would just open up his arms,
right.
Like, let's pray, and it's not always me praying or it's him praying, or even when. Say, for instance, you know, like we're getting ready for school. When I used to go into the office years ago, mm-hmm. and he's getting ready to go to the office, and my girls are getting ready to go to school, and he stopped and say, let's pray. Yeah. And the four of us are in the mud room holding hands, and we're praying before we start the day. That's the kind of love.
Yes.
Like, I love some flowers. I love the gifts and stuff. But
that right
the prayer together, the mm-hmm. praying together, to know that I'm covered by my husband.
My God.
Like, that's a whole other level.
And so then, I mean, you saying so much. So I know you're saying things. I just don't want to gloss over the tools that you're dropping, mm-hmm. Or the tools you're giving and the nuggets that you're dropping. Mm-hmm. You said something about communication, right? Mm-hmm. And so he knows. Because somehow, some way you've communicated mm-hmm. that his touch, his prayer life, and his bringing everyone together mm-hmm. blesses you, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Somehow you've communicated that. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure we continuously put in the earth that it is our responsibility as the wife mm-hmm. to say what we want. Mm-hmm. They can't guess it. And trust me, a lot of times they're not going to be thinking about it. So you have to remind, you have to remind him, or you have to share, hey, babe, I like when you do this. Mm-hmm. Hey, babe, I really need this. Mm-hmm. Hey, babe, can we grow in this area? Mm-hmm. And that's a very humbling place to be. Mm-hmm. So how were you able to really get that across? And I know we're talking about the prayer. I'm sure there's so many other things, but we can continue to use that as an example. How were you able to get that across? Like, this is what does it for me.
I think it starts, for me, it mm-hmm. started with intimacy with Christ. A lot of times we go to church, we may sing a couple of songs, we may read a couple of scriptures, but we don't apply it. Right. We don't meditate. Right. We don't bathe and sink in the word. And so we lose our intimacy with Christ. We lose the ability, or either we never had it, right? So it could be one of the two. So for me, I had it, and then life happens, and then you don't read as much, you don't pray as much. You know how that roller coaster, that journey, right? And so for me, I lost the intimacy with Christ. What that mean was I was going to church, but my wheels was focused on something else. You know, you may hear your pastor say, "Listen, you supposed to be hearing the word. You talk about what you gonna cook for dinner tonight when you get home."
Yeah.
I was in church. I was in church, but I wasn't always there.
Right.
I'll read a scripture, but I wasn't always there. I'll read a scripture and I wouldn't apply it. So I lacked the intimacy at a season in my life with Christ. And when you don't have the intimacy with him, you're not going to be intimate with yourself. You're not going to be intimate with your spouse.
Come on.
It starts with him. I have to be vulnerable enough with him to say, God, I can't do this by myself. How am I supposed to do this? I need your help. Yes. I can't save my marriage. I can't save this man. Yes. I need you. And so that vulnerability sits in. That vulnerability sits in with me because I'm not perfect. And that's self-awareness. Like, who is Rita? Being self-aware of the role that I play, what I bring to the table, how I could have responded differently. Right. So being self-aware, and then, only then, you can start having those vulnerable, intimate conversations with your spouse.
That's so good.
To really say, you know what? I love it when you do this. Did you know that? So for a long time, my husband, he said, I didn't always know you liked public displays of affection. I said, I do.
Hey.
And it could just be a simple hand hold.
Right.
A rub on the shoulder, just to let me know that you're thinking about me. Like, you're not too busy about the outside, that you're still thinking about me.
But I like how you said, he said he didn't know.
No.
Now, he's been with you, and he didn't know, but yet you went ahead and admitted it, as opposed to, well, it really don't matter. It's up to you, or what you want to do, or what you want to do. Nah, this what I like.
You have to be very clear.
You have to be very clear. Like. And I go ahead.
I just think that it's unfair for you to place that expectation on somebody.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
You can't place that expectation on somebody, and you didn't give them the tools. You can't say, I need you to fix my car. He not a mechanic. He don't have the tools, but you want him to fix it, and you want it done by tomorrow.
How? And then it's a way that you tell him or you ask him. And I believe that God has given us as women a gift. I really do. He gives us a gift to wife our husband. And so he knows that there is a way that you can go to your husband and get what you need. But we have to be willing to submit to that way. And I know you said something earlier about sometimes we can be so committed, so independent, so we forget there are some things that God put inside of us that softens our husband, and it bends him towards us as we are bent towards him. And that just takes a whole lot of humility and trust. And when you spoke on that intimacy with God, it really hit me, because there was a time when I just felt like, oh my God, I can't trust him. And God said, you don't have to trust him. You just trust me. I'll take care of him. You trust me. Now, in that trusting, you have to trust me when I say, don't say nothing. You have to trust me when I say it like this. You have to trust me when I say, go with him. You have to trust me in every bit of direction that I give. Then all those other things will come together, right? So I really appreciate how you brought that together. And it just shows that we are so divinely connected, because it hit so clear. You worked on your relationship with Christ. And the Bible says that the godly woman will win over the husband. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. A godly man will do the same. And so you really walk that out. There's one more. You have another book. I know you talked about the journal. But what's the Love Unlocked?
So we have the Unpack Your Heart, which is the
Love
7
Unlocked
steps of
is
rewriting.
Unpack
That
Your
is
Heart.
the master class.
I was just gonna say, Love Unlocked is the master class.
That is the master class.
When I saw that, I said, what's that about? So tell us about your master class. And then your other book, because you still have another book.
Yes.
Okay.
So Love Unlocked is a master class that I started, and it was in a group setting because I think it's important for women, like-minded women, to come together to pour into each other. Yes, I do individual coaching, but I like for women to hear from other women and their perspective. A lot of times we go through so much. We're more connected and we're more aligned in what we think, right? But again, we don't open up, we put the mask on. And so it started with a small group of women where I was able to instill some of the tools for unlocking that true, authentic love. And a lot of times, the love that you see on social media is superficial, right? It's what he can do for me. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be cared for. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the intimate, unconditional, agape love. I'm talking about loving him when he don't have nothing. Right? So when me and my husband got together, we didn't have nothing. There was no point of a prenup. Prenup for what?
Right.
But you have to be. So what happens, God forbid, if your spouse loses their job? Their hours get cut. Or, they transition and they're trying to build a business. And, building a business, it takes a lot in the beginning. So what happens when he can't buy you and do for you and try and travel like he normally would, like how he got you?
Well, tell us, what happens? What happens?
Listen, it don't last. Because the love is superficial. It's based on the wrong things. I'm not saying traveling and nice gifts is not good. It's a good thing. It's a blessing. But I'm talking about late at night. There's no TV on. You're crying. Your heart hurts. Where is he? Where are you?
Right.
Do you hold on to each other? Do you pour into each other? Do you pray for one another? Do you do the things that true lovers do? Right? Or do you say, I need a drink, I need to go out, or I need to get away, I need to go out with my friends? Because you're running away from the problem.
Right.
So I really wanted women in this Love Unlocked to really understand how to build that thriving relationship, to really understand the root of it, to really build that foundation. I always think about love. I use this all the time as a garden. Your heart is a garden.
Okay.
So, and I don't have a green thumb, by the way, but if you think about it, you have land and you want to plant a garden. You have to till the soil.
Yes.
You got to pull the weeds. You got to clean that up and get all that out. So when you plant those seeds, it receives it.
Right.
It holds it. It takes root. That's what love is. So if you start planting on top of trash and debris, what you think is going to happen?
Right.
It's not going to last. It's not going to flourish. It's not.
It needs good ground.
So, just really understanding, yes, the trips and the being cared for, that's all good. What's underneath?
And those are accessories, not necessities. There are people who have had a fulfilled marriage that never went on vacation, or that never had a Louboutin, or never wore red bottoms. You know what I'm saying? Or never had more than one house. So we know that it is so much more than that. I tell you one thing, I truly honor you. There's so much more to you that I feel like you didn't share it all. You do leadership, coaching, you have a master class, you have 2 books, a journal and a book. I have a journal and a book too. And then you just have that passion for marriages and families. If you had to leave something, and you do, if you had to leave something special with our audience, Wifersations, and I call us missionaries because we're on a mission for our family, what would you share with the missionaries today?
Oh, I so much to share. But I would say get in your closet.
Come on.
And if you don't have a closet, it could be anywhere. You can get intimate with Christ anywhere. It doesn't have to be a particular room. It doesn't have to be at church. It doesn't have to be in your bed. It could be anywhere in your room. And call out to him and say, I can't do this by myself. I don't know what's next. And so the amazing thing about God, I know sometimes it hurts, is that he doesn't give us a blueprint. We have to trust him.
Right.
We have to trust him. And if you could just give him just a little bit, and I'm not talking about hours, you just laid out, just start out 5 minutes a day. I mean, do a devotional. I love the Bible app, right? Do a quick devotional 5 minutes a day. Just get in that word, pray, and just talk to him. Just like I'm talking right now. That's what he wants.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a specific word. It doesn't have to be, you just lay it all out or you have to say something specific. He wants a relationship. And no relationship is going to be thriving if you don't have a relationship with him. So I don't care what you do within your marriage. I don't care how much you go to church. I don't care how much, whatever it is that you think that you're doing to save your marriage. If you don't start at the root, which God is the rock, it's not going to last.
I love it.
It's not going to last. And so that's where I start, because it's your relationship with him.
Right.
It's your relationship with yourself. And then comes the additional relationship, right? I can't be a friend until I'm a friend to me. I can't be a wife until I'm a wife to me. I married myself. I date myself, right? I take care of myself. I go to the spa. I just spend time with me. I didn't always do that because everybody was in front of me. I had to take care of everybody, my kids and my friends and my family at work. I'm selfish now. Rita is important.
Right.
Rita needs to take care of Rita. So start with Christ. 5 minutes. Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? Who am I?
Oh, I like that. I love that. Unpack your heart. That's what you're saying. Man, I love that. I know that what you are saying, what you are sharing, is going to bless someone. And what I love is, even more, is what I try to do as well. What my goal is, not to put so much emphasis on the man. We leave that in God's hands. But we take care of ourselves and we take our issues to the Lord in prayer and develop that relationship. And you've done more than enough by hitting it right there on the head to remind us that that intimacy begins with God, and we cannot take it for granted. Especially in the Christian world, the Christian community, so often we know how to do stuff, out front in the open. We know how to look like a couple. We know how to look like couples goals. We know how to do all of that. But how, and this is my thing, how are we inside of our home? I don't care what people think on the outside. When I go home, I want to be in peace. And I appreciate you providing us with, it really was brief, just a little bit of what you can do to help us get to that place of peace, or at least continue to work in that place of peace. Do you mind, please, Miss Carter? I know you read it, but I just love Miss Carter. Do you mind sharing with us how we can find you, all of the things that you have going on, anything new that you have going on right now?
Yes, so my website is www.breakthroughready.com. That is my website. My social media platforms are Breakthrough with Rita. If you're ready for your breakthrough, Breakthrough with Rita, that's Facebook and that's Instagram.
Come on.
I have another anthology that's coming out at the end of this month with a group of amazing women rising. And that actually goes a little bit more into detail with the absence of my father, who was physically there. So for those that are struggling with that relationship,
right.
I kind of dive into that a little bit. Definitely, you can DM me anywhere. You can email me, clientcare@breakthroughready.com. Anytime you want to connect, I do one-on-ones, I do group sessions, I do coaching from a leadership perspective, because I do have 20 years of experience in leadership. And over 20 years of experience. And so I do job readiness. I do leadership for those aspiring women who want to be entrepreneurs or leaders within their field. How to get there, how to get ready, because you don't need a title to be a leader.
Right. That's true.
So just giving them those nuggets and tools so they can be thriving not only personally, but professionally as well.
Wow. Well, I feel your passion. And I feel a breakthrough. I really believe that somebody is going to reach out to you, or a few people will reach out to you. I know you have the capacity to be able to receive. And I thank you. I thank you for more reasons than I can share. I just thank you for being willing to share your story, and also to show us what you want to pour into our lives. As missionaries, we have to always be on a mission to take care of our families, be good stewards over what God has given us, and then find ways that we can do better, right? And you are a great example of something or someone that the Lord has put in the earth that we, as the people of God, need to take advantage of. Miss Rita, I truly, truly, truly thank you. And I love that breakthrough ready. Yes, we're ready for a breakthrough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was truly, truly a blessing. It's like catching up with old friends.
It is. It is. All right. You have been listening to Wifersations, the podcast. Thank you for sharing with us today. Wifersations is sponsored by 25ToLife Ministries. 25ToLife is a family and lifestyle ministry focused on providing living solutions through biblical principles. If you are interested in more information on 25ToLife, Wifersations, or our host, Miss Shelon Wade, go to 25tolifeministries.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It is our hope that you have enjoyed this podcast and that you would click and subscribe. Also, feel free to share these episodes as ministry tools. Once again, thank you for sharing with us, and come back again. We look forward to many opportunities to be a blessing to you.